Welcome everyone. So in this demo, I will be showing you how to present a sculpture installation in the exterior space. So next example I want to try and do is how to Photoshop, let's say, an installation in a space, a solid kind of sculpture. So let me start by starting anew. Again, I want to use landscape, create, and I'm gonna open a background image that I want to use. So I'm gonna use this image that I have taken from the beach, and I believe this was south of France. Just click on this there, and I notice that its image is a bit larger, so let me just readjust the scale. And I'm just gonna refine the image again. This is a bit awkward with the person right here, although I can just shift it. There we go. And next I'm thinking of showing an example of, let's say, a proposal of an art piece that will then be installed on the water itself, like a blow-up installation. So I'm gonna open the actual image that I want to use right here. I've been collecting a lot of whitewashing products in my practice, so here I picked up an image of skin whitening soap that I want to utilize as a part of an installation. So I'm just gonna highlight. You see here I used the wand again, the magic wand, to highlight the background, and then I will inverse. So now what's highlighted is the actual object itself. So once that's done, I would then copy, take that out, then I'm just gonna paste it here. It's way too huge, so I'm just gonna scale it down using the scale. There we go. So I guess realistically, size wise, and I have one figure here as a reference, so I would say it would be perfect if scale wise I want to create this blow up installation to be at least twice the size of a person, so it has this kind of immersive feel. So just gonna press return or enter, and then I'm gonna start to situate it within the landscape, so it feels like it's literally sitting on the landscape, on the actual water itself. So first we'll want to rotate it so it looks like it's slightly skewed, facing towards the direction of the water. And then next I want to see if I can use the skew. There we go. So again, I want to be able to make it feel like it's literally facing towards the shoreline. because that's how I would want it to be installed. There we go. I don't wanna change it, the shape too much. There we go. So now it probably be, I would want it installed a bit closer to the shore, but not that far to the shore. And I have a guidance of the people here as well. Now I'm thinking, how can I immerse this? So I'm gonna use the eraser tool. Here we go. To kind of erase, and just again, I want to change the opacity of the soap so I can actually kind of see the background as well in relation to the piece. So I'm looking at the way the water is also flowing. So I would say it would be immersed slightly a bit to the bottom. There we go. So there's parts of it that's underwater, and because this would be a bit concave, that would then be immersed around as well. There we go. And then I can push the opacity back out, back, and now I want this installation to feel like it actually belongs in the space itself. So right now it's literally looking like it's been cut and paste there. So the first thing I wanted to do is make sure, look at the time of the day of the backdrop and in relation to this piece. So this would then change in hues and saturation. So let me just play around with, let's say, hue and saturation. As dusk appears in the landscape, any kind of saturation with the color, this is most likely taken with really high lighting. So this is how it's going to look like if there was it was daylight, straight on sunlight, this saturation of color. As the sun descends, anything that's in color, the color starts to get saturated down because there's lack of light and reflective light to show the true color of this piece. So let me just decrease the saturation, and again, I want to constantly look at this in relation to the whole image. Let me just put that down. So that's gonna be way too, so first, that's gonna be way too saturated. So I want to also look at it in a way where in relation to the other objects around, like I can see a few people in here, what's happening with the color of their clothes, the awning, the blue chairs here. You see how a lot of these colors are diluted and darkened, right? So I don't want this to be highlighted too much, because I want it to feel like it really does belong within the landscape itself. And then we have the lightness, so I wanted to make sure that maybe it kind of darkens a bit in relation to the rest. I'm looking at the gray tones in here. I wanted to reflect the object itself. So once you're happy, you can click. So from before, you can see it's slowly looking like it belongs within the actual landscape. So in relation to your sculpture, think about how your sculpture changes hues and saturation and the color reflected towards the backdrop that you're actually using. If this was actually noontime, high noon, direct sunlight, this will make sense if it was the very, very strong yellow that we had before. But since, as we can see, the sun is starting to set, it's casting almost a yellow light. You can see in reflection towards what's surrounding it, it's starting to become hazy gray, and the colors the bright colors that you would necessarily see but down by the shoreline that would have strong colors are also getting saturated. So next I want to actually start to implement shadows. So here there's this tool, the dodge tool, no, the burn tool, to darken areas. So let me just go with that. And again, looking at the sun direction, I would want to darken this side. So I'm just using the burning tool. There we go. And then move back out. Just looking at the object within the space itself, and also correlating it with the other objects, other items in the photo. How is the shadows casting? So I would say I would stop near there. There we go. And then next I would look at the sun. So I want to create almost a shine that's happening reflected in here. So now instead of the dodge tool, I want to burn tool, I'm going to use the dodge tool. And the dodge tool basically introduces light onto the actual object itself. So I want to zoom in a bit and maybe introduce this here. And here you can actually change the harshness of it as well. So you have all of those different options. Let me just... And then I'm just gonna push it out. How is this correlating with the sun? There we go. Maybe just a little bit here. So in a way, it's almost kind of like drawing or recreating shadows and lights. So now I think I'm pretty much happy of how that turned out. Now it feels like, from what it looked like before, it feels like the object really correlate to the background itself. Now for some others, it still feels like it's floating, and because we haven't situated a shadowing effect at the bottom where the water line is. So I'm going to click on the water. So here, make sure this is highlighted. I'm going to use the burning tool again, and also making sure how the size is, the hardness. I'm going to lower it down, work my way slowly. And again, always stepping back and checking out the image, seeing how the image correlates to the whole landscape. So I'm probably gonna enlarge this a bit so I can have a more spread out shadowing effect. And there we go. Okay, I don't wanna overdo it. Okay, maybe just a tiny bit more. There we go. So now it would have a feeling of how this is reflecting a shadow, so it kind of grounds this sculpture itself. And the one thing too is I like the fact that I can still see a bit of the text, which is the brand of the soap. But let's just see what would happen if we somehow readjust contrast here. Heightens it. You notice when I'm heightening the contrast, it turns more yellow. We don't want that. Lessen the contrast, yellow disappears, but you're losing a little bit of the text. So I figured I think we can afford just to make it 10. So there's still a bit of that yellow, but the actual text is predominant. Next is the brightness. I would go a little bit opposite and go to 9. Okay, here we go. So once you're satisfied, just again save the image. Okay, so the next step after I installed the giant sculpture soap, I wanted to create almost like a silhouette of a figure. So let me just open another page in my files. So let me just open, and here I've been collecting selfie images that I trace around and delete. So I'm just going to be using the magic wand. So magic wand tool right here, and it's just going to select that. The tolerance is 20. So the smaller the amount of tolerance, the more refined, where it will literally just highlight the white part. For example, if I put 70 tolerance and I click on it, you see it started to pick up a little bit of the curtain, but I don't want that. So what I find, especially when you're working with just a very high contrast plain white or plain black background, usually 20 is good. And there we go. And then I'm just gonna copy that, go back to this installation, and I'm just gonna paste this. There we go. So it just, every time I paste something, it actually automatically creates a layer. So I'm just gonna, on the opacity, so that's highlighted, I just wanna kind of shrink that down so I can also see the background as well. I'm gonna go to edit, transform. Let me just change that scale. I'm gonna zoom in so I can work a bit more in details. There we go. And once I'm happy, just click enter. Again, I just want this to almost be a part of the soap where it's a bit bleached out. I wanted a figure to look bleached out with the soap, because after all, it is skin whitewashing soap. And as I can see, because I actually created the opacity to go a bit lower, so it's translucent ghost-like figure, it's passing a bit of where the water is. So I'm just gonna choose the eraser tool and then just erase that area, right? And then you can actually use the transformation tool, the warp tool. So the warp tool, I can adjust the actual shape of the figure so it looks a bit more bent. So it looks like the image, I want the image to look like it's wrapping around this bar of soap, which is very, it has this arch on it. So by just clicking just on the image, can you see it? You can actually just slightly adjust it, right? And if you're happy, just press return and it does that. So, and then when you look back, opacity 37, I want to keep the opacity 37, and there you go, another part within the installation. I worked on it a bit more earlier on, which is this. There we go. And once I'm happy, or if you're the part of your project where it's visually pleasing to you, you can just go ahead, go to File, and Save As. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. Until next time.